From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi.
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good. Warchant.com, describably good. It's the ultimate Seminole sports source. Nike 75, that's the promo code. Ladies and gentlemen, use it, and you will get an annual membership for only $75, and you'll get a $75 e-card to Nike.com. It's unbeatable. It is unbeatable. Corey Clark joining me as always. What's going on, partner? How you doing, man?
I'm good, buddy. How are you doing?
Good. Good. You know, I mentioned it off air the other day. So one of the things that I miss about not being on television any longer is that you get some free stuff every now and then. You get preferential treatment in public because people recognize you. But also I kind of like that I'm not on television because now I can kind of act the fool in public and not embarrass, my employer or kind of make people think, oh, no, the nice guy on television is actually a really mean person. I was like, the good thing. It just kept me in check for the better part of 8 years. It was like, Aslan, be nice. Be a good person. So my house, and this is just a diatribe. If you guys want, look in the show notes. You can fast forward to us talking about this Dabo versus Mike nonsense. It's not nonsense, but it's all we got to talk about. I'm sick of it already. But the crib here, the office, Corey, also houses all my suits, my woolen pea coats and such, and I've seen a couple moths inside my house. So I went and bought mothballs because I'm like, oh, that's the way to do it. Well, my entire office now reeks of mothballs, and turns out they're toxic. It's not good. If you can smell the mothballs, it's not good. You're only supposed to put them in a closet that's airtight. Anyhow, I go to a big box store to purchase a natural alternative. Apparently, if you hang like cedar wood or cedar wood chips or cedar of some sort, it's like a natural repellent for moths. Well, I don't really want to be hanging out inside a big box store, so I'm like, I'm going to order it online, and I'm going to have them drop it off to me at the curb. So I do that, and I have to go through these hoops, and then nobody comes out to the curb. So I go inside the store to the online pickup place, and the lady's getting ready to hand me these 2 bowls. And she's like, here you go. And I'm like, I didn't order 2 bowls. I ordered. And the whole time I'm showing her my phone. I'm like, hey, I have the order ID. There's a barcode. You want to just scan it? Give me my things so I can just get the hell out of here? And she's just like, can I see your ID? I'm like, why didn't you see my ID? Here's my phone. Here's the barcode. Just scan it. Give me my stuff. So I gave her my ID, and she's like, oh, we don't have it. And then I mutter under my breath. I'm like, good freaking grief. But I don't say good freaking grief. I kind of curse a little bit.
Right.
And this guy over in the corner is like, hey, man, love the show. And I'm showing her my ID, and she's on the walkie-talkie she's like, I have and I'm like, Aslan Hajavandi. She's like, I'm like, Aslan Hajavandi. So I'm yelling my name out. So the guy hears me say that, but he's like, hey, love the show. Tell Corey I said hi. So hi, Corey.
Oh, well, there you go. Nice.
Yeah. So.
He's not always like that. He's not always cursing out employees, guys.
Yeah,
That's not what he normally does.
Just figure it out. You guys have been doing this for 6 months, online ordering, curbside delivery. This should be much more in and out, easy peasy, but it's not. Anyhow, I'm going to stop complaining now. Mike Norvell did not complain, I thought, when we spoke to him on Monday. We got him for 33 minutes and change, if my math doesn't, or if I remember correctly on the video timestamp on this. And as you would guess, a lion's share, 33 minutes, 29 seconds. The lion's share of the questions and answers pertained to the ongoing, I don't know if it's ongoing is an accurate statement or not, but obviously the postponement from Saturday, why it happened, when he knew, did he have any sort of input in it, and then kind of his reaction to the way Dabo Sweeney has gone ahead and characterized the process. You wrote a column on it that a lot of folks seem to be rallying around and finding it to be eye-opening and a nice sort of rally around the flag piece of work. What did you take away from Monday and the things that Mike Norvell had to say? And he took every question, every single question. He didn't He didn't get salty about it. He didn't roll his eyes. He could have tapped out and been like, hey, man, we're on minute 25. Can we talk about Virginia? None of that.
Yeah, we're on to Virginia. He could have said that over and over again. I thought it was a great press conference for him. He looked a lot better than Dabo, but that's not hard to do in this instance. It just isn't. Dabo's coming from a place of ignorance and accusations, and Norvell did what he was asked to do, I guess, and has to do because nobody else in the university is going to say anything. He had to stand there alone and defend the practices of his program and of the medical personnel. Because the ACC and the rest of Florida State's nothing, zilch. So leave it up to Norvell, and I thought he did a really good job. I really did. I thought he got in a few barbs, got in a few jabs, but he didn't throw any uppercuts. Basically, just said that we trust our medical protocols, and this was made by medical personnel. I had no input in it. And they wanted to play the game. They desperately wanted to play the game. And the administration needs the money. So yeah, it was. I thought it was a good moment for him in a season that hasn't had a lot. And for half a second anyway, until the reality of what this program is slaps you back in the face, the differences between the two programs. I think for the first time in a while, Florida State fans are probably more proud of their program than Clemson fans are, for about half a second. Than the reality of what the programs are. But it was a day where Florida State was on the high road. Their head coach was on the high road looking down on Clemson's head coach. That hasn't happened a lot in the last, 1,500 days. But it happened on Monday.
Clemson's fan base has pervaded everything, like our YouTube comments, tweets. They're not backing down. They're rallying around Dabo.
Yeah, sure, man. Yeah, believe Dabo. I just want to know what they think. So Florida State, what do they think Florida State's motive was? To get the game canceled, yet Norvell just said, again, a good line.
It's a great opportunity for this rivalry to continue, and we're excited to see it here in Tallahassee. And, I know that there's a lot of things that are being said, when it comes to financial, and, if contributions need to be made, well, then I'll sign up to make one. But, we definitely want this game to be played here in Tallahassee.
So why did they think Norvell's saying that?
Well, he didn't have his quarterback ready. Now he's got his quarterback. But that quarterback's probably not going to be ready December 12th either.
Yeah, and who cares? Again, Pat Mahomes could be ready. It would not matter. Florida State is not delusional. They know they're going to get thrashed in that game. But Clemson playing the victim when they're the one that had the kid that was positive. And as Norvell said, it's the first time all season Florida State's had a game where a positive test came back from either side on a Friday or Saturday. So it was uncharted territory for them. And when they find out, oh, wait, he was around the team. Oh, now he wasn't around the team, but he was around the team. He practiced earlier in the week, but stopped practicing. They can't get their story straight over there. But at any rate, he was around the team, flew with the team, and he had COVID. That had not happened before for a Florida State game. It's just bizarre. And it's like, I get it. He's your guy. But what do Clemson fans think? They think Florida State just wants to cancel the game, even though they're the ones that keep saying they want to play the game. They think it was just, we got to look for any excuse. As if they didn't realize beforehand, oh, wait, Clemson's really good this year? Oh, wait, we got to play them on Saturday? Wait, in 4 hours we got to play them? Well, let's come up with any excuse. We don't have to do that. It's just outlandish and embarrassing. And too many times in this country this year, people are just allowed to make accusations and say whatever they want, and it becomes just the narrative. And it's just not true. It's the Occam's razor, man. It's the simplest explanation. Florida State's medical personnel were not comfortable with how Clemson handled it. And so they want to reschedule the game for an open date they both have. But anyway, I thought Norvell came out much better, had that shot, talked about, we're not, football coaches aren't doctors, which was a veiled shot. at that guy at Clemson who certainly isn't a doctor.
We're competitors, and that is the reason why we have things set up the way that they're set up. Football coaches are not doctors, and some of us might think that we are, but there's a reason why those advisors and are able to make the decisions from the information that is provided.
Can you imagine being in an operating room and Dabo walks in? He's like, look, you just got to look. I don't know what I'm doing, but just bring your guts.
Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, hey, I got some dirt. You got guts. Let's get this thing done. I don't care. I don't know fancy science.
Football
I don't
matters.
understand. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, grits matter. Grit, not grits. Grits too, actually. By the way,
Damn right,
Daddy
grits
loves
matter.
grits. Grits
Walk
are
it
great.
back, Corey.
Yeah, grit and guts. You need it all. Just foolish and outlandish, the whole thing, and it's crazy that we're still talking about it.
Yeah.
It's crazy that Dabo just didn't say, but it's also crazy to me, and the point I made in the column I wrote, one of many salient, wonderful points I made, was, if Dabo had complained about a holding penalty, like went on a rant about a holding penalty in the Notre Dame game, the ACC finds him and publicly reprimands him within about 12 hours. Yet, he can go on a rant about one of your member institutions, impugn their integrity, accuse them of being cowards, of not wanting to play the game, dismissing the idea that they might actually be worried about this global effing pandemic. They might actually be worried about the safety of their players. No, hogwash. They were scared. He can go on the record saying that in a rant. ACC, nothing. Not a drop. Nothing. Just let it go. Y'all hammer it out amongst yourselves. But hey, don't say anything about that back judge, or that's a $10,000 fine and we'll publicly reprimand you. That to me is like, what is the ACC doing? Where is it? Where is the leadership? Like, why are these two coaches having to go back and forth?
Isn't he on his way out, John Swafford? May just want to get involved in it. I would like to think that maybe after, like, he let Norvell get the last word in, and hopefully he reached out to both schools. Was like, okay, Dabo, you said your piece. Norvell has said his piece. It's over. Until, I don't know, 2 weeks from now when it's like, are they going to play the game? Will they not play the game? Like, when do you think we'll find out whether or not they're going to actually play the game?
I would assume this week, though. I think that will be the next time the ACC makes the only time, apparently, that they'll make any statement at all about this is when they say that the game will be played. And the game should be played. And the ACC can say, look, we are look, it was the ACC gave Florida State the final call. That was a part of the protocols. The two medical staffs on Friday or Saturday, they have a call, and they decide if they're okay playing the game. Well, one of the schools wasn't. Per ACC rules, that school was allowed to postpone the game. The ACC should come out and back that school and not let it get attacked by Mr. Science over there in Death Valley. It's just bizarre how quiet they are, and they just let Florida State, they let Mike Norvell just flip around in the wind and have to defend the integrity of an entire institution because a guy called them cowards. But yeah, I think they'll come out and say that this will be the last we talk about the matter, but it won't be. I'm sure Dabo's going to talk again at some point in the next day or two, and maybe he'll go and say, I'm not talking about it anymore. We moved on to Pitt. Right. Or maybe he won't, but it'll come back up the week of the game for sure.
Yeah, something somewhat similar, but, obviously a little bit apples to oranges. But when LSU and Florida had that game, I think 3 years ago, that was postponed because of I think it was actually canceled because of the hurricane. And then, like the SEC didn't jump in there, and there was a lot of accusations kind of going back and forth. So, even the mighty SEC sometimes falls asleep at the wheel. But you would have hoped that, somebody from the ACC would have came out and said
But isn't
something.
this different? Like in the sense that it's a virus we're all dealing with, not a hurricane that has roared through a town.
And there's rules in place. I mean, the weather thing is kind of, you think you can do it? You can't do it. Can you make it there? You can't make it there. There's a whole booklet and a manual about the way to handle these sort of things. And it seems like Florida State's followed it right. And, to a certain degree, in Clemson's defense, they kind of did it right too. I saw somebody that works, I guess, at the paper, either maybe a bureau, the State. I guess that's one of the bigger papers in South Carolina. I don't know if he's a bureau reporter in Clemson or if he's in Columbia. But apparently, and I didn't know this when we recorded the show on Sunday for everybody's enjoyment on Monday, but apparently the player who was symptomatic didn't practice like Monday and Wednesday, and then his symptoms cleared up, so then he returned. And then, he tested positive. They found out later on. So, again, there was the risk of this kid maybe having some false negatives. Why risk it? Why chance it? But at the same time, Clemson could kind of put their hands up like, well, hey, we kept him. We didn't let him practice. He was negative. We did err on the side of caution. What do you think about, I reached out to somebody that I trust that's in the industry and asked them, what do you think about all this? And I was really surprised because they took kind of like a pro-Clemson side. They wondered, I know there was a back and forth on the Tribal Council on the thread that we post every day with the show about, why didn't Florida State just let them get retested and then play, later on Saturday or maybe Sunday or Monday. And I know there's obviously an incubation time, but my buddy that I was talking to was just, who's to say, and I don't know, Florida State, I think Mike Norvell kind of came out and strongly said it though, but who's to say that when Pitt came to town or Florida State went to Louisville, although we know Florida State hasn't had any more positives, but who's to say that when Pitt came to town or North Carolina came to town and they did their test on Friday, it came back negative, and they played Saturday, but sure enough, maybe it actually had hit them by then. And then, certain players then have to, miss the following week. But they end up playing in that game. I guess that's some people's argument on why not have played it or try to reschedule it immediately.
But Pitt or Florida State didn't have a positive test on that Friday. You know what I mean? Clemson had a guy test positive, whether he practiced or not, and he did. But even if he hadn't, he was on the team plane and in the hotel, and he was positive. He traveled with them.
Right.
That's different. That's just different. Again, Mike Norvell said they hadn't had anybody test positive before a game on a Friday. That was the first time. A Wednesday, a Monday, that's different. This guy had been around the team at least for 24 to 48 hours, and he was positive after being symptomatic earlier in the week. So again, we can say, yeah, it could have happened. It might have in hypotheticals, and they're all over the place. But this wasn't a hypothetical. This was the reality. So look, man, everybody's flying by the seat of their pants. Nobody really knows how to attack this thing. It's still we're 9 months in. You see what's going on with basketball. Goodness gracious, it's just imploding. So it's really hard to get a handle on this, even with 8 months into this thing, or I guess in college football circles, 4 months into this thing. But Florida State made the decision they thought was best. And again, if the thought is they should have played, well, why do you think they didn't play? Just to say, ha, Clemson, sorry you had to stay in that Tallahassee hotel. See you in a couple weeks. They had parents, they had kids' parents in town. They might, for all we know, I doubt it. Lord knows they better not have. They might have had some recruits at the game. They probably want to come see that. They had the marching chiefs stayed in town. Parents came. Kids' parents were there. Fans were coming in. They wouldn't have done that just on a whim. Oh wait, Clemson's going to beat our brakes off. Well, that never happens around here. I don't know, man. I get both. I get why Clemson's frustrated. Don't get me wrong, but I hate that it's they're not the ones that made the mistake. Florida State is the ones that, in some people's eyes, reacted wrongly. When it was the team that brought the infected guy on a plane and then told Florida State Friday night, oh, yeah, by the way, he tested positive. Oh, was he asymptomatic? Oh, well, no, actually, he did have symptoms. Oh, that's weird. What the hell's he doing down here? I think that might have been a response on the other end of the phone. And, it's Clemson's fault. I just want to put that, really, I hate passing blame. It's just, we're all in this together. It's really
nuanced. It's a nuanced
Yeah, it's very nuanced.
Really.
And it's easy to catch this thing. And it's hard to know if you caught it or not. That's what makes this thing such a bear to deal with. But Clemson had a symptomatic kid. They say he practiced because he had mild symptoms. Then they say, oh, maybe he didn't. Who knows what their story is? According to Norvell, they were told he was around the team during the week, even though he had symptoms. Because Norvell kept bringing up the point, when we have symptomatic players, they stay home. Because they were told.
Just
and then they have them travel, and then what do you know? He tests positive. It's great that Clemson had the transparency, which they did. Yeah. And credit to them. And I meant to give them credit on the last show. The reason we know that half of Clemson's team had COVID and they're almost to herd immunity at this point is because they're transparent with their numbers. They do release them. Football players, student athletes, and Florida State does not. So we can cast aspersions, but only to a point because we don't know with Florida State. We don't really know. Clemson does report their numbers. So I do want to credit them for that.
You think they'll release their numbers this week?
Man, that I am interested in. And do we believe them?
That's where we're at in society. Terrible.
Right?
Terrible.
Do we believe them? What if they legitimately, though, what if they had like 14 guys on the O-line or just 14 guys on offense test positive? Would they come out and say that?
No way.
Right?
Like, hell no,
so that's where the conspiracy theories come from, because
Dabo's
how could Dabo say that? Yeah. So they will do, no, you're not sick. No, you're not sick. You don't have a sore throat. I know you can taste that orange. I know you can. Don't say you can't. Yeah, man, no chance. It's too bad. It's too bad that Norvell, again, everything he's had to deal with, he has to deal with this too. But I thought his administration just is quiet. The ACC has been abysmal. I thought that Norvell handled Monday really well. He didn't attack, but he was defensive. He defended his program without sounding defensive. You know what? I'm watching right now. We're recording this show. They're showing the Virginia-Florida State, the 95 game.
Of course.
With 4 seconds left, Cannell throws I forgot all about this. Cannell throws an incompletion out of the end zone, and fans rush the field. Like the students storm the field.
Yeah, where's the penalty?
So what I'm saying here, Aslan, stick with me. Okay. Like 150 kids rush the field. They have to stop the game. That should be an unsportsmanlike penalty. Yeah. And instead of snapping the ball from the 6, you snap it from the 3.
Yep.
Let me ask you a question, Aslan. Does Warwick Dunn get in if they snap it from the 3?
Absolutely.
He's walking into the end zone.
Oh.
Now they're rushing the field. Oh, now you can do it. Yeah, they should have been penalized, and Florida State should have won the game. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I don't think Warwick Dunn was in. I think if they had reviewed it, it still would have come up short, but he would have gotten in if they'd have snapped it from the 3 like they should have. Keep your students in line. Keep them off the field when the game's going on.
Was that a Thursday or a Friday night game?
Thursday night. I don't think they did. I'm not sure they did Friday nights back then. Yeah. I was in Athens watching that. Athens, GA, watching that. Dumbfounded.
Where at? Were you at the crib or were you at like a bar?
No, I was at my apartment. Yeah. I was at my apartment.
I'd be by yourself during those times. Like, all right, big time, big game. Like
my buddy my roommate had to go across. We had friends that were girls that were next door neighbors. He went over there and watched the final quarter because he knew I was getting pretty stressed. But it wasn't a kill. It wasn't heartbreaking. But no, he didn't get in. I don't think there's any way Dunn got in, but they should have been snapping the ball from the 3, and then they would have gotten in.
Anything else to glean from what was said from the coordinators and head coach Mike Norvell? I did like when I asked Kenny. Kenny does this thing where he kind of drones. I don't know what it was the other day when we asked him about like improvement or something. You're not seeing the improvement. He's like, I know you're not winning, but you're getting better. You're not winning, but you're getting better. He's like, he kept saying like, you're getting better. And then on Monday, David Hale from ESPN.com was trying to kind of like diplomatically ask him, what's it like when people, are saying that maybe you guys were scared of playing the game, but without saying it. So then like I follow up, I'm like, Kenny, what do you do when people say that you were scared? How does that affect you? And then he does this whole, we were ready to compete. We were ready to compete.
Yeah.
And then I thought he had a nice little barb about, hey, like, if we paid attention to what other people said about us, he's like, we'd have to live under a rock.
We'd live under a rock. Yeah, nobody wants to hear what people are saying about us right now. Yeah, that was funny.
Thanksgiving's all about traditions, like turducken with mashed potatoes, and betting on football with MyBookie.com's Turkey Day Free Play. What's the Turkey Day Free Play, you ask? It's a chance that you can bet up to $250 risk-free on the early game Thanksgiving Thursday. If you lose, you will get your bet up to $250 refunded before the next afternoon game. So if you win, you got dollars. If you lose, you'll get refunded the next day. New players will get their first deposit matched halfway up to $1,000 to help add even more excitement to the greatest football weekend of the year. That's right. Make your first deposit, get extra cash that you can use on parlays, teasers, props all weekend long. Use the promo code WARCHANT to claim your bonus and your free bet. Best thing? That's only the first great promo this weekend. You get Turkey Day free play Thursday. That's the risk-free bet. Then you get Black Friday boosted odds. And we finish the weekend strong with a buy one, get one free Cyber Monday Night Football. That's why my bookie, they call football season winning season. Check it out now. No risk. Don't forget, use the promo code WARCHANT to claim your freebies. Did we learn anything about Virginia? They're well-rounded, I think he said. He said they're well-coached because they're able to be complex yet simple defensively.
Yeah, they're fit. He said they're physical and multiple and, all the things that coordinators say. And Fuller said that their running game is tough to stop. Their quarterback can run and throw it. Stuff we know. What I thought was fun, Aslan, just humor me here for a second.
Sure. Absolutely.
And I told Ira this because when he read my column and posted it, he said it was good, which Ira never does. I don't get compliments from Ira. It's fine. It's all right. He doesn't need to compliment me. I don't need that. You know what I mean? It's like what Dillingham was saying on Monday. The difference between the great players and the good players.
Yeah.
The good players want to show off on Saturday and want to be told how good they are. Yeah. The great players love they're excited about that day's work and the preparation and winning their one-on-one battle in practice. That's what gets them excited. Yeah. So that's what I am. I do it for the love. But Ira does say good column every now and again when I do write one. And I told him, I texted him, like, man, it was actually fun to write something positive about Florida State for once. And it's the truth. Like, other than basketball, which we hope that starts soon, that game against Gardner-Webb is certainly up in the air. But
is it?
Oh yeah, because Gardner-Webb has a positive case. So they were supposed to play Duke on Wednesday. Well, Duke canceled that game. They were supposed to play Georgia on Sunday. Well, Georgia's already canceled that game. So the one in the middle is Florida State on Friday. Which, by the way, what a start for Gardner-Webb, huh? Duke, FSU, Georgia. All right. How crazy would it be if Florida State's the one of the three that's like, no, we'll play. That's fine. What do y'all had a kid test positive? Big deal. Obviously it's not apples and apples there, but still. But I was telling Ira, like, it was actually fun to, like, write something positive about Florida State because I do think just about how Norvell handled Monday. Not getting into the COVID science or anything or who was right or who was wrong, but he didn't look like a clown, and I thought Dabo came off as a clown. And for 1 hour, 30-minute session, I think Florida State fans were proud of their head coach and how he handled himself. Relative to the Clemson head coach. Now, you would flip them in a heartbeat. I get it. Every one of you, probably me too, would be like, yeah, Dabo, come on down. Because of what he does. Like I wrote in the column, like, Mike Norvell has a long way to go to be anywhere close to Dabo. Dabo could teach Mike Norvell plenty things about running an elite program, building one and sustaining one. Well, Mike Norvell could teach Dabo Swinney a few things too. Like and that was kind of, just like not running your mouth when you don't have the facts, not being accusatory. Think, again, the whole, like I wrote, like he says he doesn't think the players and coaches were in on it. Like in his rant on Sunday night. Yeah. Like he thinks the players and coaches wanted to play, but it wasn't a COVID issue. Yeah. So they used COVID as an excuse to not play. But he didn't blame the players and coaches. So he was blaming the administration. The administration that lost over $1 million by that game not being played. The administration that's had to furlough half the staff. They just talked about how they're going to have to tighten purse strings even more. They are leaking money. They can take any 7-figure payday they can get, whether it's 8 or 1. They need all the help they can get. But they're like, nope, we'll sacrifice that. We don't want to see our team get beat down. Oh, you mean like the last weekend and the weekend before that and the weekend before that? They're not scared of a blowout. They're used to it by now. So anyway, I just thought Norvell really won the day, and it was fun to actually write something positive about a Florida State head coach that isn't Leonard Hamilton or Mark Krikorian.
Do you think we'll see like a rally around the flag effect on Saturday? I kind of want to ask Norvell that Monday, but I thought it was probably not in good taste. I thought maybe I'll save it for either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah, I think that's a good Wednesday question. I think the fans, I think if you just judging from Twitter and my email inbox, and a lot of the people on the tribal council, not all of them, but a lot of them, the rational ones, I think they did feel like a sense of pride just for how their head coach handled it. That he didn't come back. He didn't dive back in the mud with Dabo and accuse them. He didn't say, well, what kind of slack-jawed yokels practice a kid that has symptoms and then brings them on the plane? Yeah. He didn't get into that. He stayed above the fray with a few jabs, but he stayed above the fray, but really defended his program and his institution. And Florida State fans have been feeling attacked now for 7 years, right? Going back to Jameis. So it was good for them to, feel like the coach represented them well and put them in a positive light, which he did. And Florida State's never really in a positive light that much. They certainly don't, in national perception anyway. They don't occupy the high road too often, national perception wise. But they did on Monday. By the way, Ira asked me this: how do you think Jimbo would have handled it? My response when he asked me that was, I don't think Dabo says it if Jimbo's the coach, but he feels like maybe he has a little more room to say it because Norvell's a first year. I just don't think Dabo does it if Jimbo's the coach. I don't think if they'd have flown to College Station this year and the same thing had happened and Texas A&M's doctor said, no, we're not comfortable, that Dabo says they use this as an excuse.
Yeah, he probably says something.
But even if he had, what do you think Jimbo does?
Oh, man.
That's a good question, right? That's something to think about. I mean, it could have gone a million different directions.
Jimbo would probably have to pull out. I think he would have thrown an uppercut. It would have been like one sentence, and he gets that awkward look on his face, like when he says something really, like his jaw clenches up kind of when he says something. He's really upset, and then he immediately wants us to never ask him a follow-up question about it and just move on to the next point. That would have happened. But,
but you think he would have thrown an uppercut, like
Jimbo would have, yeah. But then, if Dabo would have said what he said, Jimbo would have responded with like fury. But to your point, I don't think Dabo would have said what he did if it was a coach at a program that he knows can possibly beat them. I think he's pretty confident that his team, no matter where they play this game, when they play this game, will win it. Again, he just wants that. He wants that extra week to get ready for the ACC championship game because they have no room for error. They can't lose another game. So he wants, so.
Well, he gets a nice little, he gets a nice little warm up.
Yeah.
It's like an exhibition before the big game, before the big ACC championship game.
I meant, we're going to get We're going to get Michael Langston here in a minute to talk about recruiting on the rest of the show today. We're also going to do over-unders, and we'll also have Brett Rollins from Pro Football Focus on the Friday program to talk about the grading and all that kind of stuff. So lots of stuff to look forward to this week. But when I asked you, though, Corey, about like rallying around the flag, not so much like the fan base, but I wonder if these players, because I think I probably was too optimistic, too much of an idealist when everything was happening with Marvin in the offseason. I thought that was one of those things where, either the team could fracture or that would bring everybody closer together. And I thought it'd bring everybody closer together. Now, there's no evidence that it didn't. But, obviously the way they've played doesn't make you feel kind of all warm and fuzzy. No. The way I think he's gone and given chances to Warren Thompson, which I think a lot of people would have liked for him maybe to hit the bricks. Him kind of, not throwing Marvin under the bus either on this latest sort of, injury or what have you. Like I kind of like the way he's approached all this. And I think there's a lot of people that don't. A lot of people wanted him, especially with hindsight being 2020 now, would have liked him to tell Marvin to kick rocks and to tell DJ beat it from day one and to tell Tamorian Terry to beat it after he tweets. With all these things kind of adding up to him, I think that's really affected the way this team might be playing for him. And I do wonder if any of that's now able to kind of be a little bit redeemed by the way he's handled this. I wonder if they'll appreciate it, if they'll recognize what he's done for them, if they'll recognize that, probably somebody else higher on the food chain should have had their back, that maybe the ACC should have had their back, and nobody came to their rescue, nobody came out to defend them, but their head coach has. I wonder if we'll just see something, just more spirit out of this team. Not that they've been, going through motions, But there's, I've watched enough games this season. I've watched enough football in my life to just see the certain teams just play with a certain energy that has nothing to do with talent. And I wonder if we'll just see something different, just spirited effort out of this team that I think can help patch together some of the holes they have, at least here in the short term, with games against Virginia and Duke.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll see. I do think that the players should feel, I don't know, they happy, I guess, that their head coach talked to. Because I think the thing with Norvell, when you watch that the press conference, the thing that I think, the one time that he seemed to like really get angry, or not angry, but like the thought of it was making him angry and clenching his teeth, was thinking about all the sacrifices that his players have made. And he didn't like the notion that they were ducking this game because they're the reason. They haven't had a cancellation yet. He talks about them not going home for the bye week, and that was an issue on the team. But they made the sacrifice to stay and practice that Saturday because, as Norvell said, when you go on a bye, that's when you see a lot of these cases because they're back home with friends and family that don't go through the protocols that they go through. So they're more apt to catch it, and then spread it. Well, that didn't happen. So the fact that they do when they're symptomatic, they do have to stay home. They did make all these sacrifices. They didn't get a bye week. They haven't seen their families or their hometown friends in a while. And then for another head coach to kind of, disingenuously say that they're cowards and don't want to play, even if he wasn't blaming the players feel that, like, he's saying that we're too scared to play, that we're trying to look for a way out, where they're the reason the season has happened. Their commitment to not catching COVID is a reason the season has happened. Now, some of you might say, well, great, 2-6, awesome, thanks for doing that. But that is something that should be celebrated. They did make sacrifices. They haven't had a huge outbreak. And you look around the country with all the games that are being canceled every week. Florida State still hasn't had a game canceled because of them, because of an outbreak on their team. They've done everything pretty well, and I thought Norvell really had their backs on that front and really made a good point, and that's when he didn't get emotional, but I just felt like he was getting a little the jaw was clenched when he was talking about that because it felt like his players were being attacked, and his players have made a sacrifice. Meanwhile, half of Dabo's team's already had it, so he doesn't really need to get to stand on a mountain and shout down at people when his team has had probably more cases than anyone in the country, or close to it. They're certainly in the top 5 in that too. So yeah, I think they could rally around the fact that I don't know if their manhood was questioned, but maybe it was. I don't know.
Yeah, it was.
But yeah, maybe.
I know Dabo walked it back, but man, they didn't. I don't think the players made it to Dabo to minute 2 to the 2:40-minute mark of his quote about. I think the players wanted to play. I think the coaches wanted to play.
Yeah,
and they're seeing Clemson fans tweet at them. They're seeing other players make comments. So,
and imagine how mad you would be when you're the one that gets tested 3 times a week. You're the one that hasn't gone home. Maybe you're the one that hasn't gone on that date or done something you might have done in any other year because you don't want to catch COVID and you want to play on Saturday and you don't want to, threaten the game. And for them to be called into question that they're scared when they're the ones that haven't had a major outbreak, yeah, that could make you mad. And so to see your coach kind of defend your program, just your program being attacked is being scared. Your program gets attacked for the way it plays on the field. It shouldn't get attacked for COVID because they've done pretty well in regards to COVID, all things considered. So I think that's where maybe there could be a little bit of rallying around the flag, but we'll see. Ask me again after the first series on Saturday night.
Oh, perfect time as the doorbell rings.
Got my Uber Eats here, baby.
There we go. It's Zaxby's. We're going to step aside. We're going to bring Michael Langston to talk recruiting. We'll be right back. As promised, we got Michael Langston, recruiting analyst for warchant.com, joining us here on Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. All right, so what's going on in the world of recruiting right now, Michael? I mean, I know you dropped the 10 targets to watch for Florida State last week. Those are players that are uncommitted to Florida State, at least, but that they're in the mix with. Just what's been, I guess, the general consensus here the last few weeks with Florida State? I mean, I don't know how many people you've talked to since the Clemson situation, but as Florida State has continued to struggle on the field, has recruiting followed suit, or is recruiting stayed somewhat stable?
I think it's stayed pretty much stable what they are. There's 10 to watch. I I think the only guy that I would put in there is Tavarius Dawson that had in there. Tavarius had told me like it may be too late that FSU offered, but FSU, the thing with that one was FSU wanted to see him at receiver, and he hadn't really played receiver that much, so they got a chance to see him this year. As soon as they saw what he did, they offered. He was a kid that really wanted an FSU offer like early in the spring and summer, but like I said, they hadn't seen him, so. Yeah, so I think I talked to a couple people, including Tavares and including his coaches, and they're kind of like, yeah, it might be too late, but I think they'll still keep working on the rest of the guys. I think those are heavy targets. I think you're going to see a lot of moving and shaking once we get near to the end of the season, where I think a lot of these kids are going to take their own visits since the NCAA's extended the dead period to April. So I think you're going to see a lot of kids that are on that list that you see, just visit the FSU campus on their own and then maybe do like a Zoom or a FaceTime with the coaches while they're there. I think there's limits to how long you can do that. So I think they'll do that. But really that's all you can do at this point. But I think, I think they have a stable group of guys that they're going to go after. And then, certainly we're, waiting to see what happens with Luke Altemeyer thing, and we've already discussed that at the recruiting chat, but just kind of waiting to see what that goes. And then I can kind of, if that does happen where he does end up deciding on going to Ole Miss, then I can kind of start attacking that of who they could get.
Luke Altmaier, quarterback from Starkville High School, has been a long time commit to Florida State. Ole Miss has gotten the picture here lately, and then Tavarius Dawson, who Michael mentioned earlier, a 3-star athlete out of Lehigh Acres down south in Florida, currently committed to Auburn. Two names I wanted to talk about. There's 10 targets on here. I'm not going to go through all of them, obviously. That's for our valued subscribers on warchant.com. One name is new. One guy has been around for a while. What do we know about Ruquan Buckley? I mean, 6'5", 250-pound, a strong side defensive end out of Michigan, a 3-star, undecided. That seems to be maybe kind of the prototype of what this staff is going after, at least somebody who's physically ready, maybe a little bit under-recruited. Why is this guy maybe kind of just hovering at that 3-star ranking? He seems to have pretty solid tape, too. What are your thoughts on Buckley and what seems to be attracting him to Florida State right now?
Well, I think athletically he's very good. He's got long arms. He's very athletic. He kind of fits the mold of what Atkins likes. Very tough guy, finishes blocks hard. The interesting thing with him is he's mostly a defensive end coming out of high school. And then but FSU likes him as offensive tackle, where teams like Nebraska and Michigan State, who I think is their biggest competition, they like him more as defensive end. I don't think he really cares what position he plays. I think if you held a gun to his head, he'd probably say defensive end. So that's probably something they're fighting against that other teams can kind of sell better. I think Nebraska's probably, if I had to guess, I'd probably put them as just the favorite because they've been on him the longest. And they also like him at defensive end, so that helps their cause. But he really likes Atkins a lot. That he knows this guy can develop him. So I think that's what keeps them very firmly in the picture with that kid.
And then a new name that I saw on this board out of Dallas, Texas, Austin Uke. Uke. I don't know. I hope I didn't say it wrong, but 6'4", 260-pound offensive tackle. Obviously, that's another position that Florida State fans are constantly searching for the next great big thing. 3-star. Where did he kind of come from, and what's the relationship like there? Do we think?
Yeah, I think he was previously committed to Holy Cross. He just decommitted, I think, I want to say Sunday night. So he decommitted from Holy Cross. That was not a surprise. I've been telling people he's probably not going to end up there because he has offers from Penn State, FSU. I think SMU has also offered him. I think he likes the fact that he can come in there right away and play. He's even more physically imposing than even Ruquan Buckley, who we discussed. This guy's a pure offensive lineman. He's the guy to really watch for FSU to possibly pull. I think there's a great relationship there already with the staff, with Norvell, Atkins. He likes that group a lot. He likes the fact of what they're going to do on offense and what they're showing in flashes as far as on offense. And he likes the fact that he could come in there early and play right away. I mean, I think he realizes there's there's an opportunity there to play right away, and I think he feels a connection and comfort with them. It would not surprise me if he did a visit on his own just to see FSU, maybe even this weekend when they play Virginia. So I think that's a guy out of all the offensive linemen that they're after that I listed. I think he's the guy that I'm most focused on because they just recently offered. You can tell the interest has picked up. They've been recruiting this kid for a couple of months. They've just they're waiting to see his season and just make sure everything measures up to what they're seeing on tape. And then I think they wanted to go ahead and jump in the mix because they felt like this is a guy that we need to have at the offensive line position, and he can certainly help them right away and add kind of what they already have is what I consider a pretty good group of offensive linemen. Roger Core, Kimbo Macanole, Brian Estes. I mean, all those guys are really great fits.
Michael, what about the guys that are, you just mentioned a couple of them, but the guys that are already on board for Florida State, how have they been doing on Friday nights? Have any of these sort of guys maybe kind of hit a stride here in their senior season that are committed to Florida State right now that you've been kind of impressed with, seeing maybe their stats or their actual games?
Yeah, I think it goes without saying what Luke Altemar's done. We break him down every week. I think Luke's done a phenomenal job as far as the season. I think what was his name? Trying to think of somebody. Just Hunter Washington has had a really good year at Katy. I think he's certainly helped his stock. I think he's been phenomenal. Byron Turner, we talk about that guy a lot out of St. Augustine out there in Louisiana. He has helped himself probably the most out of all the guys. I think Byron Turner's been phenomenal. We know about Sean Bray Jackson. I talk about him kind of weekly. He's been pretty much unblockable in one-on-one situations. So I think those are some of the guys that just right away just jump out to me. Kimo Macanole's had a really good year with Niceville. They're undefeated. Nobody's come close to even challenging Niceville so far, fixing to hit the playoffs really heavy. I think they just got through the first round, beat local Tallahassee Leon to submission like 42-0. So they've looked really good. So those are some of the guys I think have looked really good. But I think Byron Turner's probably, I guess if you're looking for a biggest surprise, I think he's done the best. I mean, this kid's averaging around 2 sacks a game. He's constantly getting pressure. It's exactly what FSU needs. That's why I've listed him a few times that he's a guy that I think could come in there and certainly make an early impact. And he feels really good that the opportunity he has of coming to FSU. He still loves FSU. He's still firm and all that stuff. So I think those are kind of some of the guys that I think have already stood out. I think most of the others, I think they've done kind of what I thought they would. As far as the season, they've been up and down. Some moments they look good, and then other games, their teams just they're playing on teams that are just not as talented as the other teams, and maybe the plays aren't there that they can constantly make. But they're doing kind of what I thought. The only guy that that's been really a disappointment just is Amarian Cooper out of Lehigh Acres, same school as Tavarius Dawson, who we talked about. I just not hearing a lot of positive reviews. It's just how he's looked on the field this year, and and I'd heard recently. I talked to a few people close around that program, and they told me that he's not going to sign early. So that leads me to believe like there might be some cooling there. We reported yesterday that DeQuavion Fuller, which is Quayshawn Fuller's younger brother, who's also on that team, we officially took him off the FSU commit list. I've told people for months, recruiting chats, this kid was not going to be in the FSU class. Nothing personal, but just not FSU quality. But this isn't a recent decision, Aslan. This is something that FSU did like right when they got the job. If you remember, they talked to Chad Masco. They said, hey, we don't think the fit's there. You probably want to look around. You're not going to be a take in this class. And I think they did the same thing with DeQuavion. So just to clear that up, since it just popped last night. But people that are subscribers on Warchant would have known that for a long time, since we've been telling people that this kid wasn't going to be in the class. So they have 15 commits, I think, right now. If you lose all tomorrow, you have 14. So there's some wiggle room with both high school and in transfers. And to clear that up, I got this confirmation too, not to switch gears a little bit, but here's how it works. Talked to somebody that was with FSU that told me you get 25 guys, and that counts transfers, high school kids for the 2021 class, and just JUCOs or whatever you get. But the wiggle room that FSU will have is, I would say, about 80% of these guys are going to enroll early. So if you enroll early, you can count them towards the next class or this class. So they can probably split those guys up. So that'll help them get, your 6 to 10 transfers that you want in the program.
All right, right on. And how's this all going to work too, Michael? Last question for you, man. With, it being a dead period all the way up until April. So, that people know the calendar, obviously. Early sign days, December, and then, traditional sign days, February. Just how much more does that put this staff behind the 8 ball?
Well, it's tough. It's been tough from the start. They're playing catch-up since the beginning because you have a first-year staff that desperately wants to get kids on campus. There was so many kids that were going to be on campus in the spring and summer that they really could have pulled. You could have had 5 or 6 additional guys to what they already have in the class. Even Destin Hill, you probably would have got him committed. So, it just really is hurting them. So all you can do, though, is keep working the relationships consistently, what they're doing every day, and then convince these kids to visit on their own and work a visit in any way you can work it. And I know the commits will help because you can get a weekend where all the commits are going to be there, and encourage other uncommitted guys to maybe have a barbecue type weekend visit just to get these guys on campus, and maybe have a big weekend, even though the coaches can't be involved. It will at least have them around other commits, and that's kind of what I think FSU's kind of planning, where they're getting the commits to do a lot of their work, where you can get things rolling. And
what I would like to see, Michael? I would like to see a return to the importance of the in-house visit, but I know that also goes into the dead period. But that'd be kind of cool if it just all came down to, listen, pick your 5 schools, invite them over, and that's how you're going to figure it out. But unfortunately, that won't be able to happen either.
Yeah, well, what you can do is, although it's kind of weird, if you have somebody that's close to that kid, you maybe can have them come over and maybe talk to them about FSU, why they're committed there in person, and you could do something like that. But it's just such a challenging time, and this whole season has been kind of
2020, Michael. Gotta love it.
Unfair to so many ways for this staff, both on and off the field. Certainly with recruiting, it's just made it really difficult, and it's just going to be complete chaos once the season's over. What are you going to do about the early signing period? Are you going to do that, or are you going to have just one signing day on February? It's like, are you going to? What rules are you going to extend? Are you going to? Are these kids ever going to get a chance to take an official visit, or they just screwed? What are you going to do? So it's going to get really chaotic once the season's technically over for college football.
Michael Langston breaking it down as he only can for us here on Wake Up Warchant. His work is always housed over at the Premium Recruiting Board. Every single day, every waking minute, Michael spends devoted to updating everybody on what's going on in recruiting. Michael, thank you for your time. Thanks to Corey. Thanks, everybody, for listening. This has been a wrap on Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good.
And now, a math lesson. Let's say the Zaxby's chicken finger plate comes with 4, 5, or 6 hand-breaded fingers and 1 side of Zax sauce. Plus, you can try them with Zax sauce, honey mustard, hot honey mustard, tongue torch, teriyaki, wimpy, nuclear, barbecue, ranch, sweet and spicy, insane. How many possible combinations does that make? Carry the 2 with the remainder. A lot. Zaxby's chicken finger plate. The sauceabilities are endless.